Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for another channel update, random topic video. Early October. I cannot believe it is October already. Partly because just the simple fact of the year is going by so incredibly fast. It seems like the summer was just starting, and now I'm recording this October 1st. And the other reason is, as of October 1st, when I looked at my phone earlier today, like a couple hours ago, it was, I think, 89 degrees, and it had a heat index of like 92, which in October in Minnesota is kind of weird. Kind of weird. By the end of the week, I think we're supposed to plummet down to like 50s and 60s, which I'm okay with. Like, that's fine. I love fall. I'm just not looking forward to what's coming next. Like I said, it just feels like we just got over this craptacular long winter, and now we are approaching it again. But yeah, so weather, weird, hot. But as I said, it beats the alternative. The snow is one thing, but it's the ice and the wind that I hate. Like, the wind is just awful, and I absolutely hate the ice. So, anyway, this is kind of a regular channel update video. Try to do one of these big ones at least once a month. I'm pretty sure I'll do another update video sometime toward the middle of the month, because we do have one major update, or one major event, I should say, coming up in just a few short days. And of course, I am talking about the Game Accessibility Conference, aka GA-Conf. And you can register for free online if you want to attend virtually, which I am absolutely going to be doing. It is now a 2-day conference, and I've already taken, I had that Monday off as a flex day, but Tuesday I took off because I will be attending all the game accessibility conferences if I can from here on out, because some of my favorite times of the year. But we'll get more into that in a little bit. As I usually start these videos, I just want to thank everybody for supporting the channel, supporting my work. Just thanks for your support in general. I've gotten some nice emails. I've gotten some nice direct messages on the YouTubes and the Twitters and such. Or X, I suppose you want to call it, but I still call it Twitter. I don't care. I think so do a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of, actually, even some of my recent videos have actually been getting a few more views. Even some of my low vision stuff, which I can appreciate. Speaking of, well, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, thank you to everybody who has been subscribing, following, interacting, all that kind of a stuff. I've gotten a few comments here and there that are just like really short, like vague. I don't know, kind of a couple of weird comments. I'm not quite sure about some of those. But overall, it's been quite good. If you are new to the channel, I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Sometimes, like this past week, I will get some bonus videos out for you guys, because as we see here, I think I've uploaded, or I've unlocked, like a video almost every day this week, because September and October are just absolutely ridiculous. They're just nuts for game releases and updates and events and all kinds of stuff, which I'll kind of get into again here shortly as well. So a lot of bonus videos this week, some good stuff there, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, sometimes more frequently, but that is the schedule. Everything is divided into playlists as well. So you have everything from low vision games, blind accessible games, iOS stuff, assistive technology, Geek Loot Spotlight videos, kind of just some nerdy stuff I've collected over the years. This year's Growing Up Illegally Cited playlist, which I'm rather proud of. Would love to see that get a few more views. And yeah, just like I said, a few Let's Plays here and there, some demo time videos, some VR stuff, virtual reality stuff, VR accessibility, game accessibility. Everything is in playlist. Check them out. So yeah, that's kind of the channel update overall. I did look just before this video just to see, and we are just over 3,800 subscribers. So, you know, we'll see what we get maybe by the end of the year. But you know what? It's moving along pretty well, and I've gotten a few new subscribers over the last little while, so that's cool. And as far as recent videos, I do definitely want to draw your attention to, there's been a few like retro first-person shooters because we've had Realms Deep, and we've just had a few other releases. I'll talk about Realms Deep more later. But the main blindness and low vision videos I really want to bring your attention to. Most of you have probably seen it, judging by the video's view count so far. But the Be My Eyes app, that's been around for quite a long time. I think 2015 is when it originally came out. But they are just starting to roll out their Be My AI feature, and damn, man, I gotta say, like, I'm not super impressed with, like, it takes a lot to impress me about assistive technology these days. It's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna add a few more features and you're gonna charge a whole bunch of money for it. Cool, whatever. But I did the first video for Be My AI, I think it was last weekend. And then I ended up doing another one just yesterday, because in the first video I showed, you know, using the actual camera, taking a picture, getting a description of something, some text, an object, the room, whatever. But I didn't cover capturing or getting information about existing pictures, be they in your photo library, mail, social media, the web, whatever. And I've had just, even when I'm not doing the video stuff, like, there's been practical times where I've found a really good use for the Be My AI feature, and I've been using it like just to help me out in general. And then I've just had some fun playing with it, you know, just going through. I've got like 300 and some photos in my photo library, and it's just kind of fun to see what it comes back with for some of these. I've got concert photos, you know, people photos. I've got a bunch of like nature and sightseeing photos from the rest of my family went on a vacation a couple of years ago. But just all kinds of stuff, and I'm just kind of constantly blown away at how accurate it is and how seamlessly it just describes so many things in a particular picture, and even details you wouldn't think that they would notice. It's like, oh, you might be in a car, or oh, this is taken behind glass because there's a reflection or there's a little glare. I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't really need to know that, but sure, okay. So yeah, check out those Be My AI videos. I did rename the first one, so we have 1 out of 2 and then 2 out of 2, because I made the sequel video. Definitely going to be one of my my most highlighted apps, if not kind of the top app for this year. I mean, I don't know what else would top it at this point. Pretty impressive. So check those out. But yeah, lots of like demo videos, a few low vision spotlight videos, a few just kind of game accessibility check videos. And part of the reason that I did so many bonus videos over the last week or so is because I wanted to get a few videos out in a timely fashion. I've received a few review keys for some games recently, and they want them. I can still be as honest as I always am, but they want them out in a reasonable amount of time, which I understand. Hey, they're trying to get noticed. They're trying to get people interested in their games or their products. Sure, I get that. Um, so yeah, I've wanted to get out a few videos for games that I have received review codes. So thank you to all the developers and publishers who have reached out um, with review codes for some of these games. Very much appreciated. So I got a couple accessibility, a couple low vision videos, and we're going to have a couple more. There's still one game I'm working on. I do have a copy of the Crew Motorfest for PC, but I am currently unable to play that game right now because I'm fighting with, along with their game, Ubisoft has so graciously decided to include this Battle Eye software, which is, I guess, some kind of anti-cheat software. And it is not happy about something in Windows 11. There's like this hardware security kernel level thing, and it wants me to disable that. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to disable my system security and integrity just to play your game. Especially when I primarily plan to play solo offline anyway. I just, it's things like what is it called? Denuvo, that copy protection crap. And then, this Battle Eye stuff. It's like, I mean, yes, I get it. You don't want people to cheat and everything. I think there should be an option, though, especially like, maybe ask before you run the game. It's like, do you intend to play this online? No. Okay, well then you can forego this. Or, if you go into the game and you try to go online and say, oh, you need to install this little thing first, and then give you a button to install it or whatever. But it's kind of like all these games, like the Payday 3 clusterfuck that happened on release. I haven't even played it since doing that video because everybody was having such trouble getting on. Like I've never gotten into an actual real match yet. And even that's playing solo. So there's a lot of these games that are kind of these live service, or even if you have a solo mode, if you play solo, you still have to have an online connection, which I kind of think is a bunch of bull honky, because maybe I want to play it where I don't have internet. Maybe I'm playing it on my Steam Deck and I'm not on the internet somewhere. Like, if you're playing solo, you don't need it. Okay, if you want to sync like your scores or progress or something, fine. Then next time you go online, synchronize and then be happy. But this always online solo stuff has got to stop. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover the Crew Motorfest, simply because I can't get the damn thing to run. I'm still trying to work with support and reach out to Battle Eye, but I have not heard from them yet. And they're probably just going to tell me, well, disable the thing. That's a current workaround. And I'm like, I don't want to disable my security. Especially with everything out there and my system's working beautifully. I don't want to change something that I don't really know about, and potentially compromise anything. No, sorry, dude, we're not doing that. The other thing that I do have a review code for, and I need to start playing in the next couple of days, I've just been so busy, is I did get a review key for Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5. That's all I'm at liberty to say right now. I will have coverage closer to the release of the game, which I believe is October 20th. So I will be covering some basic accessibility and showing the game off a little bit. But based on, now this is public information. I'm not breaking any NDA or anything. This is publicly out there. I retweeted their tweet or their post the other day. They did announce that not all accessibility features are going to be in the game at launch, and specifically a few features that I and probably many of you are going to want to have as well. So at launch, they are not, or after launch, they're saying hopefully in December, they're going to be adding things like audio description for cutscenes, text to speech, so some kind of a screen reader menu narration support, and a few other things that I forgot. But those are the two things that stuck out for me. So it's probably, I'm probably going to do a couple of videos over time on Spider-Man 2, and part of me, we'll see how easy it is to play with the accessibility features that are out there now. But like part of me, wants to tinker around with it, explore the initial accessibility features, show you guys what is there, but then kind of sit it on the back burner until that December update comes out, because then, I mean myself, if the menu narration supports like all my skill trees and upgrades and things like that, that's going to help me even as a low vision player. So I haven't decided fully how I'm going to cover Spider-Man 2 yet, but I'm probably going to have to look at this in stages. Expect some initial coverage around launch, but I will have to more than likely revisit that sometime later once Insomniac adds the accessibility features that they've announced that they're going to be adding post-launch. So thank you to Sony and Insomniac for the review code. But yeah, so expect some coverage of that as well. I do have Forza Motorsport already installed. It's preloaded on my computer. And I am just waiting for the Game Pass unlock or some sort of early unlock if I were to get such a thing, to be able to cover that. Because I know a lot of people are going to be interested in the blind accessibility stuff for the blind driving audio cues and things like that. I'm quite curious myself. So that is going to be, I forget when the release date for that is. I know it's in October, but I forget exactly when. So those are going to be some accessible games. Spider-Man 2 and Forza, those are the two big ones for accessible games this month. There's all kinds of, I can't even remember them all. There's so many releases this month, you guys. I'm not even going to be able to get to them all, I don't think. I mean, Nintendo alone has got Super Mario Wonder and Super Mario RPG coming in with like a week of each other, I think. And then they just announced, actually, like there's an old DS first-person shooter that I never really played. It was called Dementium the Ward, and that's coming out early October for the Switch, and I kind of want to check that out just to see. Halloween being in October, we've got Alan Wake 2 later this month, and I don't know what level of accessibility they're going to have, but I am hoping that it will be at least somewhat substantial, because Control, when it came out, did have some pretty decent accessibility. Now, it wasn't blind playable, but it did have different like visual and control and aim assist things. I wanted to cover the game, but at the time, I didn't. I had it for PC, but it really didn't run it super well, so I didn't want to run like a really like low detail graphic version of it. Like I didn't want to run everything on low and do a video that way. I felt I was sort of robbing the game of its, I didn't want to make it look horrible, because it's a damn fine looking game, especially if you have ray tracing. It does support that if I remember correctly. But judging by what Remedy has done with Control, I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm really hoping that Alan Wake 2 has similar, if not more, accessibility. That would be fantastic if it did. So stay tuned on that. We have some retro first-person shooters coming out. Some early access, some demos, all that kind of stuff. I'll talk more about that about Realms Deep. I do want to briefly go through a couple of negative things, get those out of the way. Earlier this week, and this year I saw a couple of posts where people were listing all these ginormous companies that are just laying hundreds, not even dozens, but like hundreds of people off at a time. And this week, unfortunately, was no exception. I don't remember if I talked about like a week or two ago. Also, Volition, the game studio Volition, has closed their doors. And that was like a couple of weeks ago. That sucks because, yeah, a couple of their latest games were a little rough. Their Saints Row reboot, as much as I love Saints Row, that just really didn't do it for me. Agents of Mayhem, I wanted to like it, but I really didn't. I really didn't like that one either. But Volition has been around for a long time. What'd they say, 30 years? And they started out with the Descent games, and those were badass, man. I played the hell out of the Descent shareware in DOS. I mean, it was a first-person shooter, but it was totally 3D, and you were in an actual like little ship, not in free space, but you were in these. I really got to find either a good playing version of Descent, or I got to play something like I think it's called Forsaken or is it Forsaken? Forspoken? I think it's Forsaken, which is kind of somebody else did a spiritual successor to Descent, but they're in like rooms and corridors like you would have on a regular retro first-person shooter, but because you were in this like spacecraft thing, you could freely move, and not only could you freely move around, but like you could do barrel rolls, you could flip, you could rotate, and like 1 minute you're flying around and the walls are now the ceiling, and the ceiling is the floor, and like it could get really disorienting, but it was really, really cool. And they did the Red Faction games. I liked the first Red Faction a lot, especially the PC version. The PC version was actually really quite good. Red Faction 2 is a big steaming pile of crap, unfortunately. The best part of that was the 5-minute mech section. But no, the PC port, I don't know about the console version, but the PC port of Red Faction 2 was hot garbage for the most part. As much as I loved the first one, both my friend and I we picked it up on launch day and we're like, dude, this sucks. But then we had Red Faction Guerrilla. Oh my god. I've covered, I think, both the original and the remastered version of it that came out a couple years ago. When Red Faction Guerrilla came out originally, that game blew our freaking minds, man. We had, it went to third person, but you had this big old hammer. You had these mines. You had these futuristic weapons. You could get in vehicles. It was like GTA on Mars, but you could literally break or blow up everything. And not really many, if any, games have done it since. Especially since like technology's gotten better, it's gotten more powerful. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like that Lord of the Rings game. I covered it on the channel. What the hell was it called? Shadows of Mordor, where you had this like this revenge system or whatever. I forget what they called it, but no one has ever really used that since. But like Red Faction Guerrilla, the destruction, being able to just mow through a base, blast or just run through the wall with your vehicle, bust in, shoot a few dudes in the face, rescue a hostage, uh, smash through a wall with your hammer, throw a mine on something else to kill some enemies, jump in a vehicle with your hostage and get away. I mean, that was just freaking cool. Now, there were a few missions that were really awful. That goddamn satellite mission. Anyone who's played that game knows what I'm talking about. That freaking, it's like a satellite broadcast mission toward the end of the game. Pain in the ass. But I love that game. But yeah, and then they went and they did the Volition. They did the Saints Row games. It didn't have much accessibility in it, so it was really hard for me to play. But it was it was more of a down to earth, kind of a competitor to the Grand Theft Auto games, Grand Theft Auto, 3 and 4 and whatever. 2, I really wanted to play more, but it didn't have the accessibility that I needed, and the PC port was just jacked. I've tried to play the PC port a couple of times, and it is just a horrible PC port. I don't know if there's fan mods out there that makes it better, but whew, it was rough. And then Saints Row 3 and 4, that was where I got into it. I had so much fun. I played Saints Row 3 a lot solo, and I actually played through it all the way with co-op with a friend of mine. We played a lot of Saints Row the Third. Saints Row 4 was like, yeah, what if you were a superhero and you didn't have to you didn't have to ride in cars anymore. You could just run. You could jump. You could pretty much fly. It was so over the top. It was like, what do you do from that point on? But for that game, it was still really fun. I remember the insurance fraud missions in 4 because of your powers, you could literally get hit by a car and just fly, like bounce yourself off of things and getting hurt. You could bounce like clear across the city. It was freaking hilarious. But yeah, then Saints Row had Volition had a few duds, and one day they went in earlier a couple weeks ago and just gone. Like they're just shut down. See ya. So that's really sad because there's a lot of good people that were in that studio. And then earlier this week, Epic Games, what did they lay off? Like 900 people? And this is a company that like has the Unreal Engine, which other than Unity, well, Unity is a whole mess that I should probably mention too. Like they make the game engine that a lot of your developers use. They do Fortnite, which pretty much prints money. All the kids are into the Fortnites and whatnot. I could really care less for the most part, but those are the couple of the biggest money makers, and then they got the Epic Games Store. And yet, I have a real problem, not just in the gaming industry, but tech industry and just big business in general. Like, I really hate the trend of like all these companies trying to, we got to make our shareholders and our executives happy, and we can't, God forbid, we might make a little bit less money this year than last year. We have to make all the money and then more money every year, to where it gets to the point where it's like there's no reasonable expectation that you could even, there's got to be a limit. But what do? You get these executives that have these multi-billion dollar salaries and incentives, and God forbid, if you're an executive like that, you get to basically screw up a company so bad that they got to bring in somebody else. But as part of that, they get their $16 billion golden parachute. So it's like, you fuck over a company, and then you get rewarded for doing that because you get your golden parachute, and then you go off to another company and you do the same damn thing to them. I don't know how we reward this level of executive stupidity. It's like, no, I mean, your average Joe, if somebody ruined something, you have consequences. You have to pay for that. Oh, but if you're rich enough, no, you actually get paid more money. It's like, well, thank you for wrecking our company. Here's $40 million. Have a nice day and have fun wrecking the next one. Um, yeah, I just, it's stupid. Um, they're so far disconnected from reality, these big, executives and whatever. But it's like, yeah, I get it, especially if you built a company up from the ground up. Like, okay, hey, you worked your ass off and, you built up a company and you deserve some of the rewards, sure. But, like, if I owned a big company, like, I'm pretty happy with the amount of money that I have right now. God, I wouldn't even know what to do if I had, millions and millions or billions of dollars. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to live in a big mansion. Yeah, my house would be decked out in really techie things. I'd probably have like a one of those jacuzzis that you could drain. Like I'd have one of those in the bathroom because it would be just really nice to have a hot tub in my bathroom. That would be great. But I don't really need a lot of extra stuff. Um, and the people that are making me the money, like I would want to run a company and treat my employees with some freaking humanity. Like I said, like there's been a list of so many game companies and tech companies that are just doing these massive, like dozens, if not hundreds, of layoffs at a time. People move across the country to go work somewhere, and then just, oh, nope, see ya. After a couple of years, you're done, you're out. And especially if you're living in somewhere like San Francisco or LA or something where it's like you got to be a millionaire to pretty much afford to live there. Um, it's messed up. It's really messed up. So, I mean, unions can be part of it, I'm sure. It's probably not a bad idea for some of these game workers, especially some of the actual programmers and workers, like the working level peons, shall we say, to unionize so that they actually get some rights. I think that would be probably a pretty good idea because clearly, like I said, a lot of these executives don't know how to do what's right. Um, and like I said, I would be a thing where, like, let's say the top regular worker in my company, if they made $200,000 a year, yeah, I could make a little more than them, but I don't need to make 400 times more than them. Like, oh, they made 200,000. Even let's go and say let's say I made a $500,000 salary a year. That's a shit ton of money. Even if I made $1 million a year, that's still not like 14 million a year. And I could use that because again, I want to keep my company operational. I don't want to lose my employees that are really talented and they'll go work for somewhere else. Um, but no, it's all about these. I don't know. I could just rant about this all day. It just really pisses me off. Speaking of things that piss me off, I had I know I did a couple of tweets about a week ago, when we were talking about like, oh, assistive technology companies and the limited markets and things. I forget I think it was something where they were talking about, there was an article about some device that cost like $35 to make, but they sold it for like $500, which, yeah. No, and I do, like I said, I do understand that it's not just the manufacturing. There is, especially if it's a new product, there's some R&D, there's some research and development for it. And there's, some sales, there's some marketing, there's, I don't know, QA. I mean, it's more than just the manufacturing. I get that. Um, and I also get to some degree that, especially in the assistive technology field, that it is a limited or it is a smaller market. I get that. Um, I can sell, 20 million TVs, but am I going to sell 1 million of a certain assistive technology? I don't know. So I get that, but at the same time, my one of my arguments has kind of always been for quite a while, that I wish that assistive technology companies sold their products to the people who need them, to the people who use them. Because right now, and kind of the way it's always been, and like I said in the beginning, I sort of get it, where it's like, well, even to make up for our research and our development and our marketing and our yada yada, in order to kind of break even, though, we have to sell to businesses or we have to sell to governments or whatever. But like, CCTVs have been around for over 30 years in some form. Yes, they've gotten exponentially better and smaller and lighter and crisper and whatever. Braille displays are changing, but like, they've been around in some form forever now. But it's one of those things where I wish that, like I said, I wish that these companies would sell to the people that are actually using them and make them more affordable. Because in what you make up, like I said, right now they're focusing on largely selling to businesses, to governments, to schools, agencies. They're selling to businesses because they have a lot more money, theoretically anyway. And also that's kind of their assumption too. It's like, well, a business is going to be able to spend way more money than an individual. So not only can we sell more to businesses, or should we focus our marketing toward that, but we can also afford to jack up the price because, well, it's a business funding. Instead of charging $2,000, let's charge $4,000. I know I'm oversimplifying things and it's not totally accurate, and this is probably going to piss some people off, but I mean, when I worked in my last job, we helped kind of run they had like a assistive technology lab, and people would come in, especially a lot of senior citizens, they would come in for like a tour, and they would just see, well, what kind of technology do you have that might be able to help me? I've lost some of my vision, I've got macular degeneration, I've got all this stuff going on. And I want to be independent, I don't want to have to rely on other people, and I want to live on my own. I don't want to have to go live in a home. I totally respect that. I get that 100%. And it was odd because I would show them, we'd go down the line and we would show them some CCTVs. We'd show them, if they were blind, we would show them some blindness stuff, book players, audio recorders. We'd show them Braille displays if they knew Braille. And they would get all excited, like, oh, wow, this magnifier, I can actually read again. And then they would ultimately ask you, how much do these cost? And it would just come to a screeching halt. Yeah, about that. Well, this one here is about $3,000. This one's about 2,500. This one's about $4,000. And you could just see them, like, and you could hear it in the tone of their voice. They're just like, oh, never mind. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're lucky enough to be able to be part of a vocational rehabilitation system where, oh, I'm doing this because I need to go to school and get a job, you might be able to get some, some funding through the state or something. But like seniors, there's just not as much money to go around for them. Their programs aren't as funded. And especially with, the baby boomers thing going on right now, and there's going to be a lot more seniors kind of going forward, especially a lot of more tech savvy seniors, people who grow up in an office setting. They want to still be able to use their computers, and they want to still be able to read and do the things that they did before losing their vision at an older age. And so it's like, I would think that if you market it toward, put it in, advertise it, schedule things at senior services homes, eye doctors, doctors' offices, clinics. But I mean, if you sold it to people at a reasonable cost, yeah, you wouldn't make as much money on each individual unit, but you could make up for it in quantity, I would hope. And also, you would make a heck of a lot more people not only happy, but be able to make them more remain independent. I just, it's, we have this whole thing of like, oh, we promote independence of blind people. Well, yeah, but not really, because the whole system is set up to promote dependence, because most people can't afford this shit. And the reason I was sort of ranting about that is, like I said, I've seen so many things on social media where people are frustrated because they can't afford a piece of technology or a tool that would help them, and they can't get the help they need. They can't get the financial support they need. And the markups that they give. There was another thing around the same time that I had. Oh, it was the thing of the whole monopoly thing. There's legal cases against like Google and Apple and all these big tech companies about you're participating in monopolistic practices. Well, my first thought was, clearly you don't care about that as much as you think you do, because if you did, and if you looked at the assistive technology field for the last 10, 20 years, there's a couple companies that I could kind of say would be a little monopolistic. Not going to name names. But if you can't beat them, buy them, has kind of been a thing. And there's not as much competition, near as much competition as there used to be. And I like competition because it keeps people innovating. It keeps people focused on quality. And then there was this announcement earlier this week through Envision. I think I covered the Envision AI app once or twice. That app did just go free. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. And it's a decent alternative to Seeing AI, especially if you're on Android. You don't have Seeing AI, so Envision is the ticket. They have their Envision glasses, which are kind of neat. I have not done a review on those because we did get a pair through work, but I hesitate to cover things that I get through work on my personal channel. There just seems to be a little bit of a conflict of interest there, so I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. If it's something that I buy, or if it's something that a company reaches out to me and says, hey, would you like to cover this? That's a little bit different, but I don't want to just start taking things from our technology lab or our lending libraries and go, hey, I can do a video review of this on the side. Otherwise, I could probably do a heck of a lot more like CCTV and assistive technology videos, but I don't really want to have that conflict of interest. But the Envision glasses are kind of neat. they're starting to implement their own sort of AI thing, similar to how Be My Eyes is, and the potential of that is outstanding. Like I said, if it's, I have not gotten to try the Envision version of their AI, what they're doing yet. But if it's anything remotely close to what Be My Eyes is doing, and if you could have that in a wearable form on your head, where you could be hands-free, yeah, there's some awesome potential for that. Um, but we just gotten these glasses not terribly long ago, and they announced that they're coming out with like a second pair. They're coming out with a new pair or an updated version of the Envision glasses, and they announced this subscription program, and it was like, okay, that could be interesting, but it's 150. Oh, it's no. Let me rephrase that. It is only $150. I seem to remember that phrasing. It's only $150 per month. Is that all? I mean, is a business or is a state agency, are they gonna spend $150 a month for a client to have a subscription to your glasses? Because I don't know about you, but I don't know many blind people that can afford a $150 subscription for a pair of glasses. I don't know very many people. I maybe know one or two that could, but even if they could, would they? Would they shell out $150? I don't know. Um, and it would be one thing if it was like, oh, you pay $150 and you either get, like, every time there's a new piece of hardware, they just send you a box, you ship your old one back to them, they send you a new one, and so you're always getting new hardware. I don't know if that is necessarily included, or if maybe you pay the $150 and then, because the thing is, at least the way I read into it, what it sounded like is like you just kind of keep paying. So let's say the glasses cost $1,200. I'm just making up a number. But then you pay $150, you spend that for several months, and then you technically pay off the glasses. So then can that subscription drop down to, I don't know, like maybe even $20 a month, where you're paying for the service, you're paying for the um, support, you're paying for um, whatever, but you're paying essentially for like the service to keep everything up and running and for future stuff. Um, does that happen, or is it like, oh, I've paid for the glasses and then some, and I'm still paying $150 a month? That just seems a little much. I'm curious if they explain that a little bit more in the next couple of weeks. And I'm not saying definitively, like, one way or another that that's what this is, but like from what I've read so far and the way that I've understood it or interpreted it, I'm a little hazy, and that's why I'm kind of questioning this. Like, I love the idea of the glasses. I love the idea. I wouldn't even be opposed to a subscription. Let's say, again, if I was subscribing to like the service, and then, like I said, every time there was a new hardware update, I didn't even have to care. I could just, like I said, they could just let me know via email, hey, we're shipping out a box with the new glasses in it. When you get the new glasses, just put your old ones back in there and ship it right back to us. And then boom, you've got your new hardware with the better camera and whatever. That would be one thing. I still think $150 a month is a wee bit on the high side. Okay, probably a little bit more than a wee bit, but then I could kind of see it a little bit more. But yeah, that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. So, and it's going to be really interesting, especially as more mainstream. Like we just had kind of a nice perfect transition. Was it earlier? I can't even remember. This whole week and a half has been just such a blur. I think it was earlier this week. We had, or maybe late last week. Hell, I don't remember. But we had Meta's event where they were talking about, is kind of the equivalent to their Oculus Connect that they have every fall. And the problem with that is they really didn't talk a whole lot about the Oculus or the Meta Quest 3. They did some, to be fair, there are some cool things about it. Like the thing that I really liked is that apparently you don't have to manually create your play space anymore. Like, on the Quest 1 and 2, you always had to kind of draw this line of where you wanted your play space to be. But there's enough better cameras in this new headset to where it's just, I guess it's supposed to recognize furniture and obstacles in your area, and it just sort of creates the environment maybe on the fly. So, I mean, theoretically, like if I'm understanding it correctly, as long as it can detect like, things that you might walk into, or, could I like literally walk around my apartment with the headset on and it would kind of guide me between, oh, I got to go in between a little counter and my table here. But it sounds like you don't have to manually create a play area anymore. You can just double tap the side of the headset, and you'll go from your perfectly immersive VR view to your looking at your real life area. So you have virtual reality and you have augmented reality and you kind of have mixed reality all in one thing. So I mean, there's some neat stuff there, but I have not found anything, and I've done a little bit of digging. I really haven't found any sort of mention about any sort of built-in accessibility. During their keynote, which I had on in the background during work that day, they said the word accessibility like 3 times, but they didn't mean it in the context that we wanted it. It was just, we want this technology to be accessible to as many people as possible. Therefore, we're keeping it at a low price, and they're referring accessibility as more of a general term, as more of a cost. They're referring to accessibility meaning more cost-related stuff. And yeah, they mentioned it like 3 times. I was actually keeping track, and I at least heard 3 times, and none of them had mentioned any sort of like, oh, we have tried to accommodate for people with varying abilities or people with disabilities or whatever. So as much as I would kind of like to play with one, and I really, really would like to play Cosmonius High, because that does have very good low vision accessibility, if not some decent blind accessibility for that game. As much as I want to play it, I'm not going to run and buy a headset. I've already bought 2. I bought my Oculus Rift. I bought my Quest 1. I skipped the Quest 2 because I thought, well, maybe they're going to start doing something with the Quest 3. But thus far, I have not heard anything about like a zoom feature, a menu narration, screen reader feature for the dashboard, anything that would really help a blind or low vision user. And yeah, I would love to try some of this new tech. I would love to be able to, they do have some interesting things coming out. I mean, the Ghostbusters game sounds kind of neat. Again, Cosmonius High, and there's a few other ones, but even the VR games, maybe I'm just not following it as much as I used to. I would say between like 2016 and 2019, maybe, I was really into VR. I was regularly releasing VR experience videos, VR app videos, and I know from about 2020 until now, I maybe put a couple of videos out for things that I had already recorded, but I've barely touched virtual reality in the last 3 years because I'm tired of jumping through all the hoops and trying to do every little thing just to get a game or an app to work, just blind guessing my way through menus and accidentally screwing up settings because I tapped on the wrong thing, which has happened before. I remember one time I literally accidentally changed both the visual and audio language of the app because I couldn't see it well enough and I clicked the wrong thing. That was a fun one to recover from. So, no, I mean, if these companies are not going to implement features, I mean, at least, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just show me some, show me some effort, show me some progress. Like I hear about all these cool things happening in research labs and things, but something that comes out to your average customer, like we have for Microsoft and Sony, um, and Windows and Mac or Apple, iOS, Android. Just, I know the PlayStation VR 2 has some accessibility because it does support their dashboard text-to-speech feature of the PlayStation 5, but even that, again, I don't know how many games there really are for it. I mean, I've heard of a couple here and there, but Sony doesn't seem to be like really promoting it all that much, and like other than a trickle of a couple things here and there, I don't really hear a lot about PSVR since their launch. Matter of fact, I almost forgot it. I think it was earlier this year that it launched, and that's kind of how much of I don't want to say a dud, but how much of a quiet launch it's been. There wasn't like the Half-Life Alyx moment. There wasn't the Beat Saber, there wasn't this like exclusive PSVR 2 app or game that was like, oh, you got to get it for this thing. It's so freaking cool. There just really hasn't been that thing. So, I mean, MetaConnect, they talked a little bit about the Quest, and then they really focused on AI, just like everybody else is doing. And they did mention I forget even what they're called now, but they do have a pair of these Meta glasses that are coming out very shortly. And the form factor sounds really interesting. They have cameras. They have like headphone type thingies or speakers in them. So it would be a perfect form factor type of device, a mainstream device. I think they're selling them for like 200 and some, 300 and some bucks, which, again, if you're looking like something for like the Envision glasses, if you're just buying them outright, I think they're at least, what, 1,500 or a couple grand? But the problem is at least for now, I think they really only work with Meta stuff, your Facebook, your Instagram. They don't have like a Apple or Android App Store type of thing to where other developers, at least to my knowledge, like, again, if you could get Be My Eyes on those suckers, if like Meta had their little glasses storefront and you could navigate that with your voice, or it had some sort of a gesture thing for text to speech, or you just did it on your phone in pairing with the glasses. But then you could load something like Be My Eyes or Seeing AI on there, and you could just be like, oh yeah, take a picture of this, and then it would just describe it to you or read something. Like, I would pay $200-300 in a heartbeat. $200-300? Yeah, I would pre-order those babies right now if I knew that I could. If I knew that I could do stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if they're going to expand to more of a broad platform where you're going to be able to use them with Android or iOS devices, but Meta still sounds like they're pretty, everyone's kind of in their own walled garden. So while the hardware seems like it could work, I don't know that their software or ecosystem right yet is going to support like third-party apps to do the things that us as blind or low vision people want to do. But the technology's there. I mean, it's clearly already there. We have the Envision glasses. We have the Google Glass things. They were way ahead of their time. And we have these Meta glasses now that, are probably significantly better than even the hardware that was in the original Envision glasses. So the technology is there. We just we got to wait for some company to make a pair of glasses that supports a mainstream platform. So if I can pair these glasses with my smartphone and I can just go download an app from my iOS app store that would then work with these glasses, and if you could use like third-party apps instead of using your phone's camera, just tell it that you wanted to use your glasses camera and headphones. We're close. We're so close to more affordable mainstream hands-free options. I can feel it. I have to guess within the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be some sort of mainstream, more affordable glasses that we can just go out and buy that are going to somehow work. And that we won't necessarily have to pay the traditional assistive technology tax. There's huge potential. And just the functionality of the stuff that you can do with your phone. You can read, you can OCR your text, you can recognize money and objects and barcodes and all those things. The just huge variety of things that the Be My AI feature does alone is, and I don't say this lightly, it is pretty revolutionary. It is pretty groundbreaking. I think the last time I felt this way was when we had KNFB Reader come out on the iPhone. It's like, dude, you mean even if I have to pay $100 for this, I can just do this on my phone and it reads stuff? And then, then probably Seeing AI would be the next one, because that was free and all the cool stuff you can do with that. But since then, this Be My AI thing is just fun, functional, really cool. So that's just kind of a rough overview of Meta, and I think sort of where things are going, some of my frustrations. I know this is becoming a super long video again. I briefly just want to touch on Realms Deep that happened yesterday as I'm recording this. I didn't know it was going to be so long. It started at 1 p.m. my time. I think it was done at like 4:30. I thought it was going to be like 2 hours, maybe 2.5 tops. No, man, this baby was like 4 hours long, 3-4 hours long. And I mean, for the most part, it was really good. There were a few cheesy, they had this whole kind of talk show thing going on. Whatever. But I mean, there were loads of trailers, a couple of gameplay demonstrations, and it wasn't all boomer shooters. It wasn't all first-person shooters. There was one game, I think it was called Cthulhu Keeper, that was this, kind of really gave me some Dungeon Keeper vibes, which could be a good thing, so that might be one to watch out for. There were quite a few games. I can't remember what they were. I mean, again, the video was so long and I couldn't remember them all if I tried. But with all the games that were covered, I would have to write down just a colossal list of them. But there were a fair few games that were like these third-person kind of action-y hack and slash type things. There were a couple of side-scrolling games that were kind of more action. Again, everything in this, this isn't your cozy games event. This is your kind of old school fast action, first-person shooter, side-scrolling shooter, slasher, or whatever. That's what kind of games we got to see during this event, which is a-okay with me. And like I said, there's a Realms Deep Steam page where you can grab a bunch of demos. I've downloaded at least probably a half a dozen to a dozen that I still need to get around to playing, which reminds me I need to go download Rip Out and check that demo out. I forgot to grab that. But so I got to be trying those out soon. But a couple highlights that I saw, they opened with this game called Twisted Tower, and it kind of seemed really trippy. There's probably it's kind of one of these movement-based shooters where you can wall run and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But it looked like the actual levels kind of like morphed or whatever, or like you were, I don't know. It had a really interesting style to it, and it looked like the environment was kind of doing some trippy things, so that could be kind of neat. They started out with that. That was kind of a cool thing. One of my favorites was The Last Exterminator. I have a video out for that already, and he's already put some accessibility features in it, but he's hopefully planning on more by the time the game fully comes out. There's just a demo out right now, but it's kind of this build engine era, like Duke Nukem 3D style first-person shooter. It feels and plays really good, and we've been chatting a little bit the last few days again on Twitter, and yeah, so that was a good one. We got the Ion Fury Aftermath coming out literally, I think, tomorrow or Tuesday, so that should be fun. I did try the not Ion Fury, Phantom Fury demo, which looked cool during the event when they showed some gameplay, but I don't know if I'm going to do a video unless they patch it, because this demo is rough, you guys. I mean, it doesn't feel like Ion Fury. It's a sequel to it in a way, but it almost feels more like a deliberate, I've heard people say like a Doom 3 meets Half-Life type of feel to it. And there are some enemy, like the shotgun enemies, they are so ridiculous. Like they just like twitch and zoom all over they're just like bebopping around everywhere, and it doesn't feel good. The enemies are bullet spongy. The combat just does not feel good. And it's something they could fix. I think they could fix it, but it does not feel good right now in demo form. So hopefully they fix that, because I really want to like that game. I really, really do, and I hope it turns out. Fallen Aces. I did a stream of that. I think I did a spotlight video of it about a year or two ago. This is one of my most anticipated retro shooters by far. This was the one where you played, it was like this 1930s, 40s gangster thing, where you had these it had this really cool comic book art style to it, and it was these mobster guys, and you could kind of go stealthy. Kind of has some immersive sim qualities to it, where you could be stealthy, you could be actiony. Again, the comic book style, everything is voiced. Had this the enemies had this wise guy kind of attitude to them, and they had this 9-minute gameplay demo trailer thing, and it just looks so freaking good. It looks so fun, and I don't think they gave a date other than next year. I am extremely looking forward to that game. I loved what I played in the demo, and if that's any indication, yeah, Fallen Aces is going to kick some serious ass. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Mullet Mad Jack looks like this, I forget what the game was called. Remember that one where it was like you had only a few seconds to live, and you had to keep killing enemies to progress, and it had this really trippy art style? It's kind of a game like that, but it's kind of got this really vibrant, I don't even know what you'd call that art style, but it's unique. And that one looks neat. There's a game called Core Decay. We've known about for a little while, but we finally got to see some gameplay. And that one looks really intriguing too. That one, again, it's kind of got an immersive sim quality to it, where they kind of showed a short little sequence of like, oh, what happens if I go through this with guns blazing? What happens if I go and try to talk to guards and negotiate my way through it? Or what happens if I want to be sneaky and stealthily take out people that way and get through it? Kind of a Deus Ex style vibe, but different, and that's looking really good. I definitely want to see more on that. That's supposed to maybe be coming next year, but I'm not sure. But Core Decay looks pretty rad. Graven finally has a release date. I'm pretty sure I did a video for that. I'm very, very much looking forward to Graven. There's Graven and then Gloomwood. Gloomwood is more the thief type game that I love it, but I suck really bad at it. I tried the demo and it didn't go well. But Graven, I played quite a bit of. It was a demo, or I don't even think it was an early access thing. I think it was a demo, but I really liked it. That's coming out early next year. Kingpin, a remastered version of that, is coming out in December. That thing's been in development forever. We're getting that, so that should be kind of cool. There's a new Duke Nukem pinball for is it Pinball FX? I think it is. I forget. But yeah, I mean, there's so many, you guys. But like those are the main ones, like Graven. All the games I already mentioned. Cultic's got some new content. A new level that's going to bridge the story between episode 1 and 2. Cultic is really good. I don't think we saw Coven there. But yeah, I mean, there were just so freaking many. I'm trying to think if there's any more that really stood out. I know there were. I mean, there were games that, they kind of were. You got your movement shooters, where you're running and sliding and dashing and everything. There was your more traditional kind. There was a couple of looked like kind of grid-based first-person dungeon crawls. There were Project Warlock. We're getting some lost levels content. I forget exactly what they called it, but we're getting some of that, and I think that's either later this month or December. And then, of course, Project Warlock 2, which is already kind of out in Kickstarter form in early access. It's really, really, really good. Forgive Me Father, I did a video for that earlier this week. That demo is really good. I really want to see what that's going to be. But Forgive Me Father 2 is really good. So yeah, if you, depending on, no matter what sort of retro shooter fan you are, you're going to find something that you're probably going to like. So that is what has been going on. The Apple event, of course, I talked about that before. There's a small part of me that still kind of wants to upgrade, because there are times where I'm using my phone and VoiceOver. I don't know if it's my phone or if it's VoiceOver itself that's just crapping itself. And there are times where it just becomes so sluggish and unresponsive for a little while that I'm like, I could get a new phone, but then I'm like, no, I kind of want to wait till next year. So I'm trying to make myself wait. I'm trying to, because overall it's really not that bad. So if I can wait one more year and I can get the iPhone 16 Pro or whatever, then I could maybe, that's what I'm trying to do. We'll see if willpower holds out. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. One thing I had to do this past couple days, I had to get a new UPS. And for people who don't know, that is an uninterrupted power supply, basically a battery backup. So for the past many, many years, I have had, like, instead of plugging your computer, especially if you got a big, expensive gaming desktop like I do, you kind of want to protect it, you know? A lot of people will just plug it into the surge protector, you know, in their wall. But you can go one step further and plug it into a UPS or a battery backup. And I have been doing this for at least probably the last 15, 20 years to some degree. And, you know, it's just like if your power, if you get brownouts, if you get power spikes, it regulates your power, so it's a much easier on your power supply. It should let your equipment last longer. You know, it's not good, especially if you're doing something highly intensive and your fans are going and then your power just goes and just everything just instantly shuts off. That's not good. That's not a good thing for your computer. So yeah, I mean my old UPS finally croaked, and I had to go on Amazon and buy me a new one. So we are back up in business. We are running again. Yay! So I got that taken care of. And like I said, to wrap up, it's just this month is going to be games, games, and more games. And it's going to be the Game Accessibility Conference on, what is it, the 10th and 11th? It's a week from Monday and Tuesday. So just over a week away. Very excited to watch and listen to all the sessions of those 2 days, interact with people on Discord. And yeah, I mean, these are just really fun. Again, people want to get into game accessibility and they wonder about game accessibility and consulting and stuff. Well, the GA Conf is a great place to start. You learn about different aspects of game accessibility. You learn from the experts. You learn from the users, the developers. You learn from, you know, all kinds of people. And you make kind of even if you're doing virtual, you're making your connections through the Discord server in your chat, and you're putting your information out there. You're asking questions and networking with other players and advocates and consultants, developers. If that's what you kind of want to do, that's a really perfectly good place to start. So with that, I will stop blabbing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.